The pancreas now. So the reason we're going to talk about the pancreas is because it's an organ that secretes digestive enzymes. So it is also related to the digestive system. So let's talk about things that could go wrong with the pancreas. Remember, one of the main functions of the pancreas is to secrete digestive enzymes. Where in the body is the pancreas located? Well, right here. Yep, right along the duodenum. So here's the stomach, pylorus and duodenum, and this is the pancreas. In real life, it doesn't look like much. Every time I show students the pancreas, when we do necropsies at the end, nobody ever believes that's it. They always look at me like, really? Are you sure? Like they think I don't know what I'm talking about. It does. It just kind of looks like brown. It doesn't look like anything. It just looks like fatty kind of tissue. Brown.
Is it normally yellow?
Yeah. It's got a little tannish yellow. And so digestive enzymes are usually secreted in an inactive form so that they don't start to digest the pancreatic tissue itself. Usually they don't become active until they're actually acting on the substrate, on the food that they're breaking down. But sometimes they get activated too soon, and that's when we get pancreatitis. So I know there's a lot on the slide, but just follow along with me one line at a time. Pancreatitis is inflammation of the pancreas. Pancreatitis. Usually it happens when the digestive enzymes get activated within the gland. Well, what could make that happen? Sometimes high-fat foods can do that. So the same thing, you feed your animal maybe a hamburger when they're not used to eating that, or bacon or something, or it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, be careful. Feeding your animals all the leftover ham, that kind of thing. They're going to be prone to pancreatitis. So don't start feeding. If your animal's never eaten fat and then you throw them a big old piece of ham, you could create pancreatitis, so try not to do that. Okay? High-fat diets may predispose them to it. Some animals will recover well because it's going to be a mild pancreatitis. Some animals worsen and die. I had a schnauzer. Schnauzers are kind of prone to pancreatitis. I had a schnauzer in vet school that I will still remember because the owner said she gave it a Happy Meal. And the dog had never had a Happy Meal, and it's just that schnauzers are prone to it. Now, some dogs eat Happy Meals once a week and never get pancreatitis, but schnauzers are particularly prone to pancreatitis. So she admitted, she said, well, I gave him the Happy Meal, so he had a burger, fries, and then he was in the hospital for 2 weeks because he had pancreatitis. And it can make animals very, very sick. You'd be shocked how sick they can get from pancreatitis. They have chronic vomiting, pain, and diarrhea, and they can go into like shock and collapse because of the chronic vomiting. They lose so much fluid. Diarrhea, they lose so much fluid. Plus they're in pain. And all those things can just cause them to almost just go in shock, all those things all at once. And again, often seen post-holiday. Table scraps of ham, gravy, or whatever else you're eating. Put your trash away, tie it up real good, put it on top of something so your animals can't get to it. But this could be, in some animals, very dangerous. Usually we diagnose it based on history because they say, well, my dog ate this, or I fed my dog this. But blood work might help. We can look at some enzymes on blood work, give us an idea about pancreatic inflammation, amylase and lipase, although these days people don't rely on these too much. But these are two digestive enzymes secreted from the pancreas, so we can look for those. Brianna. Okay. And then we can see leukocytosis. That's an increase in white blood cells, because sometimes they might have inflammation or maybe even infection in the pancreas. They can be dehydrated, so they can have an increased packed cell volume, and hyperlipidemia, high fat. Now the treatment. Huh?
Specifically high fat in the blood.
In the blood, yeah, because probably because we have fed them so much fat, and now that fat is even showing up on the blood. So we need to keep them hydrated because now they have vomiting, sometimes diarrhea. Keep them hydrated. Don't feed them for a couple of days. The reason we don't feed them is because we need the pancreas to settle down. We need it to not secrete anything for a while, give it time to heal. Antibiotics are given. Not all the time is there a bacterial component, but there could be. So antibiotics. Butorphanol for pain. You'd be surprised how important it is to monitor pain in these animals. It is very painful, and making sure that their pain is taken care of will help them heal faster. Animals that are in pain do not recover well, so make sure they heal.
When they're not showing outward signs of pain, are you looking for high blood pressure,
Yes, in clinic you are, but we're talking about that in surgery actually. How do you recognize pain in animals?
Right.
As veterinary professionals, we're going to learn to be a little bit more sensitive about it, but the average client might not. But think about it. You know when your animal's a little bit off. You know when they're a little bit off. Like, you're like, man, even the look in their eyes, sometimes it's just as subtle as that. Like, they just kind of look, not dead, but they just kind of look empty or far away, or they're hiding more, or they're guarding their abdomen, or they're sulking. Or sometimes animals might lick the abdomen. Pancreatitis, they have pain in the abdomen. Remember I told you about the praying position and you were mentioning that to me? Animals with pancreatitis, because they have abdominal pain, will often stretch because they're trying to relieve pain. So it's going to be little subtle things. But yeah, recognizing the pain in the first place is going to be an issue. And then once it seems like the animal is recovering, we're going to put them on a low-fat diet. And there's all kinds of low-fat diets, but you want to feed something that's not going to overwhelm the pancreas and get it angry again. So, try not to overfeed your animals. Feed them low-fat treats and low-fat foods. And then the prognosis is difficult. That's what PX is. PX is prognosis. This is difficult to assess because some animals do really well, some animals don't. And so it's just going to be kind of a wait-and-see game. Wait and see. Are they going to do well or not? Are they going to do well or not?
When you take them off of the food, at any
Yes.
point do you not allow them to drink water?
I have heard both. If they're on IV fluids, that's going to be the best thing, and that'll be able to keep them healthy and hydrated. Some people say to offer them water, but some people say don't give anything orally because it might stimulate just the idea that I might be eating or drinking, so that could stimulate enzymes. But you do have to keep them hydrated. They've got to have fluids, at least IV fluids. And I've heard both about offering water. Like some people say nothing orally because it may just get that hunger, kind of mental thing going. Yeah.
Like, I kind of understand this, I kind of don't.
Yeah.
What is it about the high fat that makes the pancreas overreact?
Just because if it's more than they've ever dealt with before, it's almost just like, I've never dealt with that. So then they secrete more enzyme. It's almost like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of fat, let me secrete more enzyme. And they wind up through what exactly caused it, I don't know, but it winds up those enzymes become active sooner than they should. They should not become active in the pancreatic tissue itself. It should wait until the pancreatic duct empties into the intestine, and it should become active in the intestine. But sometimes there's so much, I think it just becomes active in the tissue itself. But it is the high-fat foods, the pancreas is like, ooh, this is a lot of fat that I've not had to deal with, and more enzyme is secreted, or those digestive.
Is that like maybe someone who's never, or doesn't eat a lot of meat, suddenly they eat meat and get sick?
Similar to it. So enzymes, there's enzymes that digest carbohydrates, enzymes that digest proteins, enzymes that digest dairy and milk. If you are on a particular diet for a long period of time, the enzymes that are not important for that diet do kind of take a break. So then if you go back to eating meat, those enzymes are like, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time, and they get sick because they don't have the enzyme. The enzymes to digest the meat weren't ready. So like if you don't eat meat, you are not eating meat, you're eating vegetables all the time. Well, the enzymes that break down vegetables are going to be working. And then all of a sudden you decide, man, I'm craving a hamburger, I'm eating a hamburger. Well, the enzymes that usually digest meat are like, hey, I was on vacation. I didn't know I had to go back to work today. And usually they can't work fast enough and you get sick because there's nothing to really digest your meat properly. So it's similar, not exactly the same thing. And that exact thing is in your AMP book. That question, why animals get sick after you change their diet, it's exactly that. If you look at the digestive system, it's going to say because enzymes will kind of take a break. And so if your animal is used to eating carbohydrates, and now you feed high protein, sometimes that's why we have to gradually change the diet. That's why we have to do it over 7 to 10 days to give those enzymes time to liven up and get ready. Okay, the next disease is called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, just like it sounds. Actually, let me review. What does the term exocrine mean? What is the difference between an endocrine gland and an exocrine gland? Okay. Locally. So the difference is endocrine glands release things throughout the body. Endocrine glands release things like hormones that act everywhere in the body. exocrine glands release things very locally. So like salivary glands are exocrine because they just release the saliva very locally. And so exocrine, when we're talking about the exocrine part of the pancreas, we're talking about that part of the pancreas that secretes digestive enzymes very locally. So exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. In this, what we're saying is the animal's not able to secrete digestive enzymes. They're not being made. So the pancreas stops making digestive enzymes. Well, obviously, that's going to be a problem because now the animal cannot digest food.
No, sorry.
Sorry. Now the animal can't digest food. Sometimes it can happen spontaneously, like some breeds of dogs are prone to this. Sometimes it's because they've had chronic inflammation in the pancreas, pancreatitis, and so the pancreas will stop making the enzymes. So signs, weight loss, polyphagia, they're trying to eat a lot, coprophagia, and pica. So let me explain that. If the pancreas does not make digestive enzymes, whatever the animal eats doesn't get broken down and they don't get nutrients from it. And that makes the animal think, man, I just need to eat more. It almost makes them think they're starving. Because even though they've taken something in, they're not becoming satisfied because they're not breaking it down. So what do? They try to eat more, which doesn't help. Sometimes they'll have coprophagia. They start eating stool. Pica. Pica is when they eat random things like rocks or whatever. They just try to eat because they're like, hey, I'm still starving. Whatever's left, sometimes if the first time it went through there's stuff to be broken down, then perhaps there, I know, it makes me gag even thinking about it.
I have a slightly irrelevant question. How come sometimes when foreign dogs eat, they get really stuffed up while they're eating, they look like they're freaking eating eggs, and then like after they eat, they're fine. You know what I'm saying? They look like
Sunken in?
Yeah.
You mean like immediately before they eat?
Kind of.
Yeah.
And while they're
Everybody knows this? I don't know.
While they're
God, I
eating,
like
they
that.
look like they're like.
Yeah, like whenever they eat, like this one goes.
And then.
Whenever they eat. Whenever they start
And
eating.
then it like goes back.
I mean, you think they're just sucking in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're like this while they eat. I'm like, she looks like she's being starved. And then after a while, I'm fine. Like,
I don't think I've ever noticed that. I don't know. Like immediately before.
I'm gonna record myself.
Like immediately before they eat. They
Yeah,
just
it's like
kind
when
of
they start eating.
It's like they're eating and they're like they're really sucked in. And it looks
unless they're just starving, unless they are like really hungry. And I'm so sorry and they suck in.
Yeah, it just happens. Like I feel
like
like
I've ever
noticed. Little battery.
How
It's about to die.
cut.